So, Cindy, it's good to see you again.
Likewise.
Before we begin our session, I just want to go over confidentiality again. As you know, confidentiality means that everything you say in here stays in here. I don't share it with anyone. The exception, as we talked about before, is if you express an intention to harm yourself or someone else, I do have to report that to my supervisor.
Okay.
But other than that, feel free to share. So in the last session, we spoke about the fact that you're at the beginning of a divorce. We spoke about some of the reasons why it was because of your husband's infidelity, and you felt some betrayal because of that.
Yes.
Also, we talked about the fact that you need to get a job right now for financial reasons. And you had expressed some trepidation about getting the job. You've been a stay-at-home mom for a number of years, and you were a little bit had some reservations about your ability to get a job and possibly, keep the job.
Yes.
So that's what I want to go over in this session, because what I get from that is a sense of maybe lack of confidence or lack of self-efficacy. Are you familiar with the concept of self-efficacy?
Not so much. I guess elaborate a little bit on.
Okay, well, self-efficacy is basically how much faith you have in your ability to achieve a goal and stick with it. Okay. Basically. So I was getting kind of an impression that there was maybe some issues with that. So I wanted to touch on that in this particular session. Now, I use a theory I think you should know called solution-focused brief therapy.
Okay.
Which is basically it has a focus on the future. It's goal-directed, and it tends to not spend a lot of time dwelling on problems, but more looking towards solutions to those problems.
Okay.
And a particular technique that I wanted to work on you with was one called alternate interpretations.
Okay.
Which means that there's a variety of ways. Sometimes when we're faced with a new situation, we're nervous about it because it's the unknown. So what we tend to do is engage in a process called catastrophizing, where we entertain the worst case scenario.
Okay.
But what alternate interpretation teaches you to do is it teaches you to look at all the many ways that you can reframe the situation in a positive context so that it doesn't seem so frightening or so negative.
Okay.
Okay. So to begin with, what reservations do you have about getting a new job?
It's just, like I mentioned before, it's like I've never really done it. So I guess more say like, I don't know what to expect. It's more of like the unknown. Mm-hmm. Can I actually do it? Can I actually do it right? Especially now, like the way, I guess, technology is, everything is so advanced. Mm-hmm. So I don't really know if I'm going to be able to learn everything the way it needs to be done. So I'm just I feel like I'm stuck back then, and I know everything has advanced and so on. So I'm just not certain of myself and my skills. Okay. Or lack thereof. Mm-hmm.
So you're a little concerned that you haven't changed with the times.
Yeah.
Okay. So how could we reframe this in a more positive context?
I guess if I was to say that I'll have the ability, and if anybody else can do it, I can too.
Okay. I mean, that's a positive.
Somewhat, right?
No, it is. It's definitely a step in the right direction. One thing that I would say is that you could look at this as a new learning experience, new opportunity to grow and learn something about the technology field that will help in this situation.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
So see what we're doing. We're just kind of reframing it from taking it from a fear and trepidation place to a more positive.
I see. Right? Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess in a way it kind of gives you you can do it somewhere deep down inside you.
Right.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. So what are some other issues that you can think of?
I mean, as far just overall responsibility. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know being a stay-at-home mom is has its own responsibilities in itself, mm-hmm. but it's, it's so much different. I feel like this is something that I should have done back when you're 16, back when you're, mm-hmm.
young
and I guess kind of not naive, and you're they're expecting for you to not know going in.
Okay.
You know, I feel like, okay, going for a job now, I should have the experience. I should have the knowledge. Not going in as like a 16-year-old, you know, that doesn't really have all those experiences. So I guess I'm also afraid of, you know, like, oh, here's this, you know, 30-something-year-old that has no type of experience whatsoever.
Right.
So like, will anybody even want to hire me for any kind of job? And then it's like, how do I climb the ladder to, you know, advance as well? So it's like, here I am at this stage in life, and it's like, how am I going to be at a place where I want to be when I'm starting from the very beginning?
Right, okay. So I'm getting a sense of feeling like, you know, a sense of lost time, like you should have been, you know, doing stuff before, and maybe you're behind the 8 ball.
Yes, exactly.
What's a way that we can reframe that?
That's just so stuck in my head that it's like, it's scary to even like how to reframe that.
I mean, just think about the positive, just for a second, and take as much time as you need to think about the positives that could possibly come from, you know, a situation like that.
Well, I guess I could surprise myself with what skills I may have that I don't know.
Okay, so something you might have overlooked.
Yeah, like I might be good at something, you know, as opposed to taking care of a household and all that. So there could be something that I'm good at, and then from that, from knowing and finding this out, I guess I can be really good and climb that ladder that I want to climb and advance. Because now that I'm changing my position from, you know, a stay-at-home mom, I want to hold some sort of title. So I guess I can achieve that title now, even though it's late in the game, but I can finally have a different title, wear a different hat. Okay. So I guess that's a positive way of looking at it.
It is.
Like, yeah.
Can you think of anything else along those lines?
Being where I should be in life. Like I mentioned that, you know, like being at this stage in life, I feel like I should already have all these skills and everything. Right. So I guess it's like, it's never too old to teach an old dog new tricks type of thing. Okay. So like so I guess if I can teach an old dog a trick, I can do it too, you know?
One thing that I would give you to think about is that you're saying that like, oh, I don't have that much experience, I've been a stay-at-home mom. But one thing I would say, I mean, that is a big experience. And the other thing is, with your maturity, you still have certain skills that other people do not have. They may not be, you know, things in the workplace, but there's maturity, there's personal things that you bring to the table that somebody who's maybe just starting out at 16 would not bring.
I didn't even look at it that way.
Yeah. In your 30s, you have insights that you didn't have in your 20s or teens.
That is true.
Right.
That is true. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, now that you're saying that, it makes sense. Because, you know, like, okay, if I get a job and I just so happen to be with a 16-year-old, I can have my mothering skills, you know, and actually, like, guide them, which can also help out in the workplace. Right. So,
you have that to fall back on. Yeah. And that can be, you know.
It's funny how I didn't even think about, like, skills that I have. I guess going back to that, like, you know, skills that I'm good at that I didn't even know, and it just comes as second nature, and it's like, okay, so that can definitely help, and I guess it helps me to see it in a different light instead of this big scary workplace that I feel like it's just going to consume me. Yeah. And, you know, I feel like it's just like gonna spit me out, like chew me up and spit me up, like, you know, like scary, but like looking at it and reforming it, like you said, like makes it seem, I guess, not so scary. And intimidating. Right. So yeah, it's I guess I guess it's a better way of looking at it and going about the situation,
right. Mm-hmm.
which helps with the stress and everything else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other issues?
I mean, just overall with the divorce, it made me feel not worth, just not worth, like, going through this whole situation. It lowers my self-worth,
right.
So that just put a big thing on, like, actually, like, I know I have to go and, get this job and everything. But it's just like, it's still going back on myself. And it's just like, oh, with all these things that are going on, who's going to want to hire me?
Right.
If this is going on in my life, like, how am I going to go about being able to handle my household with my kids, and getting a job and this whole, like, I just feel like it's just like this whole big bundle that I have on my shoulders, and then going to get a job that just, I feel like I'm not worthy of doing.
Right.
It's just, it's frustrating.
Right. And I understand that divorce can really, be a, serious shock and make you doubt your abilities.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, it definitely, my abilities is like, I feel like I can't, like, it makes me rethink everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I go back and I'm constantly thinking, like, oh, I shouldn't have been a stay-at-home mom. I should have did this. I should have did that. So it's a lot of, like, looking back and I should have. When I know it's like, okay, we're here in the now, and, like, I shouldn't really look back and really think like that, but it's just so much that it's like, and, and I'm sure it's probably everybody, I mean, probably, but it's just, it sucks.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the only way to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what comes to my mind. It's just horrible.
Do you think that your confidence depended a lot on your relationship with your husband?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because I feel like, since he was the one that was working, like, I mean, looking back, it might seem silly, but I guess he kind of is what made us, So, like, yes, I do feel like I depended on him.
Okay.
And it's like, now it's like, who am I without him?
Right.
Type of thing. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I guess it's just figuring out life. I feel like I'm starting out life all over again.
Okay.
And, trying to figure out who I am. What am I going to do? And, like, all the A, B, C's and X, Y, Z's. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's just overpowering all this stuff that I have to, like, kind of, like, get all my ducks in a row and getting everything. And I don't know, I guess.
No, you're doing fine. So yeah, that sounds like what I thought is that part of you felt like you were dependent on him for your self-image and everything. Did you get messages growing up that was the way it was supposed to be in a marriage? Or? Yes.
Yeah. You know what? Because my family, like, that's exactly how it was. Mm-hmm. Like, it was like the woman stayed home, cared for the kids and everything. Mm-hmm. And, the husband was the breadwinner.
Right.
So that is the way, I saw it. That was the norm, mm-hmm. But, like, now that I've been through it and things have turned out differently for me, it's just like, why?
Right.
Like, it just doesn't make sense anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just like, why is that? Or why did my parents be like, why were they like that? Like, why? So I guess it is, it's rooted back to my family.
Right. So what you're learning now is that you have to be flexible with those kind of roles because situations come up where we can't always follow those roles. Now you have to be the breadwinner and for your kids and
And it's like learning how to do that. It's just like wow. Like it seems difficult, and I know like there's other people that have done it.
Right.
So it's like what makes them so different from me? But like learning it all over, like learning how to walk all over again. It's just like eventually I'll get there. It just seems so far out.
Right. And it's really, I'm sensing it's really kind of scary, like just like all the other issues.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Like extremely scary because I just feel like life was normal and then it's just like got chaotic.
Right.
And now I have to get all these things in order. And it's like, where do I even start sometimes? Like sometimes I just like sit there and it's just like,
yeah.
I know I have to do this, this, and this. And it's just like, I don't even know where to begin.
Right. Was there ever a situation where you felt like you couldn't do something and it was hard, but you just did it anyway and you were proud of yourself?
I mean, as far as like, because my kids,
yeah.
But I I guess I can think of a couple times that, nothing big, but yeah, that I have done stuff. And again, I didn't think I was able to do it. But in the end, yes, I did come out and I accomplished.
Right.
But it just took some, just get up and do it type of attitude. And I did. And I succeeded.
Okay.
So I guess maybe having that type of attitude.
Yeah. And looking at the exceptions, the times when you actually did have confidence and, push through it, I think is very important.
Okay. So then like whenever I have like my doubts, go ahead and like think I've done it.
Right.
That
just
works.
keep that in the back of your mind,
Okay. Okay, so that does work out.
Can you think of any other things related to, the divorce, being out on your own?
Just everything in general is coming to my mind right now when you mention that. But the whole being on my own is scary.
Yeah.
Because it's, again, doing everything that I once took it, I guess, for granted or so. Or something I just didn't really think about because it was just, the kids, the house, the normal.
Right.
And now it's like everything is going to come from me. And also trying to get, child support and the whole thing that goes with divorce and the kids and all that. So it's, it's just all very scary, and being in a house where it's just going to be me, I'm the head of the household with my kids. It's just really hard.
Yeah. So how can, if I could suggest a reframing of that, do you really think you're alone in all this just completely, or do you have other people?
I do. I do have family. Like my mother is, but I'm one that I like to kind of like do it on my own.
Yeah.
And I know in this situation, it's hard, and I have to kind of give that up, but I have like a hard time giving that up. But yes, she has offered plenty of times for, anything I needed, that I can just call her anytime.
Right.
Even friends, my friends, they've been a great support system that I've had. But even with, I don't think it would matter the amount of people that I would have in my corner. At times I still feel alone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, I have a support system, but I guess I have to take advantage of the support system that I do have.
Right.
Because maybe I can achieve more and do a lot more that I'm here saying that I know that I can't do.
Right.
But I could do if I was just to take advantage of the support system.
Okay, so are you kind of getting the hang of what we're doing?
Yeah, I am.
As I mentioned before, it's called alternate interpretation.
Okay.
Which is basically just where we look for ways to reframe a problem, in a more positive context rather than a negative and fearful place. And I think you're doing really good with that so far. We're thinking of more positive interpretations. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you, it's something called a scaling question. It goes along with solution-focused brief therapy, which is the technique that I use. A scaling question is like basically what it sounds like on a scale of like, say, 1 to 10. Where would you say that your confidence level and self-efficacy level is at this point?
Right now, it is very low.
Okay.
So, I mean, I want to say maybe 4.
Okay.
Just because I know I have the capability to do it, but it's like, how do I go about? I'm not confident with how do I go about doing things. Like, again, I've never had to do it before, so it's like that's where my confidence level is like. Okay. I don't have that.
Okay. And so I feel that you should take baby steps with that. Like you might not want to shoot up to a 10 right away.
Okay.
I mean, if we do, that's great. But probably go small, like maybe up to 5 would be average, I guess. Okay. Maybe like a 6 or a 7 even.
Okay. That would be perfect.
Right. Can you think of some things you could do, or like some concrete things, and then I could suggest some?
Yeah. Okay. So, I guess in regards to like getting the job.
Or feeling more confident in terms of your ability to get the job.
In general. Well, I was actually looking at these workshops that they have. Like it's computer courses and all that. So it's at a local college. So I guess even starting off with something like that might help me to get some skills that might be necessary to go into, I guess, any kind of job force. So I guess maybe even starting something baby step like that, like, getting more proficient and comfortable overall with the computers. Because that's something I'm not at all. So, I mean, so I guess doing that, I mean, I can just even imagine just even learning that, how it would boost my overall self-esteem to be able to actually go into a job and be able to put on, the application, like, yes, I'm proficient in this. So I guess that would be one. I guess I'm not too familiar with, and one of the things that scares me is I'm not familiar with actually interviewing.
Okay.
I've never done it. So I don't know what to expect. I don't know what I would say. That's one thing that I would like to be more confident in. Okay. But I don't know how to go or how I would even without actually doing an interview.
So you've never been to an interview
No.
before? Okay. Well, a good thing that we might want to do right now in our session is possibly have a role play where I pretend to be an interviewer and you're an applicant. Would you like to do that?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So, what job would you be interviewing
Oh God. Let's see, something easy.
Okay. So maybe answering phones at a call center.
Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds perfect.
Okay. All right. So we'll just, and you don't, obviously you don't, because you don't have experience, you don't have to be perfect. We're just going to see how
Okay.
this goes, and I'm the employer.
Okay, that's fine.
So hi, your name is Cindy?
Yes, it is.
Okay, hi. I have your resume right here, and I'm looking at it. Could you just tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, I am new to the workforce,
Okay.
to be straight honest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for a position here,
Right.
so that way I can gain experience.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound okay so far?
Yeah, it does sound okay. I mean, it's honest, and it's telling them, it's being upfront about your purpose.
Okay.
One of the things that they ask you during interviews is they like to get a sense that you know something about the company you're applying to.
Okay.
Okay. So that would be something to look at.
Okay.
Would you want to practice saying that, or?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Okay.
I mean, definitely.
Okay.
Okay.
So tell me your understanding of our company and what we stand for and what we do.
Okay, so I understand that you're a call center,
Mm-hmm.
and you're calling your customers to try and get them to increase their services
Mm-hmm.
that they have with you. I also know that, excuse me, I also know that this company has been now going on 5 years. It started off a little company back in 1998 and has since increased. I'm not sure what else I should.
Well, no, that was a good start.
Okay.
I mean, obviously we're practicing, but
Yes.
whatever research you did and whatever you
Okay.
found out would be what you would say.
Okay.
But they do want to get a sense that you actually know where you're applying to before
Okay.
you take the job. Other things are basic, like you want to be on time, of course.
Okay.
Dress professionally, things like that. I always would tell people to steer clear of asking like specific questions about payment at that point, because
Okay.
you know what I mean. That can be looked at as forward, I guess.
Okay.
When they ask you about your qualifications, try not to minimize things too much. Like, why don't we practice that? Like, what should we say? Okay, so what, you say you don't have a lot of experience in the job market. What kinds of experiences do you have? Do you have charity work? Do you have volunteer work? What do you have?
Well, I do have volunteer work.
Okay.
I have volunteered at the schools in which my children go to. I do a lot of PTA work. So I have dealt with funds that come into the school and have also dispersed payments as far as if it needs to be paid for trips, or if the DJ for a dance has to be paid. So that I was held responsible for.
Okay.
I've also, besides just the volunteering, just personal experience.
Right.
I have 2 kids, so I can definitely discipline.
Right.
And I mean, I have experience cleaning, and so I am organized and I can multitask.
Okay.
So I guess
Yeah, that was excellent.
Okay.
That was excellent, because you never want to minimize what you.
Okay.
Oh, I took care of kids and that's all I did. You never want to say that. You want to emphasize it, because
Okay.
and the truth is you have done some things that would be very beneficial to a job, but you want to show that. You don't want to play it down.
Okay.
So that was very good. I'm trying to think of some other things that you could go over. I would say just try to be as confident as possible.
Okay.
Try to be relaxed. Don't operate under the assumption that you're bragging when you talk about your.
Okay.
Because that's what I hear from a lot of people. They think, oh, I don't want to brag and seem arrogant, but it's not about being arrogant. The employer wants to hear what you've done, and so you have to play that up and make yourself
Okay.
sound really good. Okay.
Okay.
But
so I can do that.
yeah, I think that you would be pretty good. Where would you say your confidence level is on a scale after that? Would you say it's changed at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, just even though it was just role playing, like it gave me a sense of what to expect, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, so, like, even just saying it, like, I was actually kind of surprised as to what skills I have.
Yeah.
Even though I thought I didn't really have any,
Mm-hmm.
like, I was surprised, like, oh, okay, I have done some stuff.
Right.
So it's like, okay, I can do an interview.
Okay. So you see how just taking it out of the unknown and making
Yeah.
it familiar can do that.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah, so that definitely helped a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it boosted my confidence a little. Like,
Okay.
I feel like I can actually apply.
Right. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the goals of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So I'm really glad to hear that your confidence went up. I'm glad that this alternate interpretation exercise has been positive. One of the things that I want to do is I'm going to give you a homework assignment, okay. To work on. Do you journal at all? Have you ever?
I mean, like, when I was younger, diary
Okay.
type of thing.
Okay. Well, this is kind of the same thing. I'm going to have you, just buy, like a notebook or something
Okay.
to write with. And just write down on a daily basis what your confidence level is like, and have you been, techniques that you can practice in order to bring that up, like we just did with the interview. Okay, so you would just write that and monitor your progress on that.
Okay.
And I think that after a while, what you'll see is an increase in your confidence and self-efficacy. Because actually engaging in journaling itself takes a lot of self-efficacy, because it's a commitment that you make
Yes.
and that you have to stick to. So that in and of itself will increase that goal. What do you think of that?
Oh, I think that's great. I mean, like I said, I did it when I was younger, and it was a way of me, instead of saying it, I was just able to write it down. So being able to do this now, I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Right.
So it's like it's interesting because, like you said, like I'll write it every day, and I guess I can look to see how either my confidence level either has increased or decreased that day. And I think it's really interesting, and I'm actually curious, like, how I might grow from it.
Okay.
How it might help me with my overall, lack of confidence, and hopefully, be able to have much more of that.
Right. And I'm glad to see that you look at this as positive, because it's always easier to do something when you actually, are enjoying it.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Like I enjoyed it when I was younger, so I mean, like, I think it'll be really, really good to do the journaling aspect of it. Like, yeah, I think it's actually a good thing to do.
Okay, great. So now I just want to recap what we've done for this session, so we just understand everything. We started out by talking about the divorce and your feelings related to it, and your fear about what this means for your life at this point. We explored some alternate interpretations, reframing it. Instead of looking at it as, you're behind the 8 ball with all these younger people, looking at it as, you have a lot of experience and you have a lot of personal changes that will be an advantage as opposed to being younger. Also, realizing the strengths that you do already have and the past situations where you've achieved things you didn't think you were going to achieve. And also just looking at this as a new growth opportunity rather than something frightening or, that you have no experience with.
Yes.
We talked about your confidence level being slightly low, but we practiced role playing with the interview, which you even stated brought your confidence level up, because we took it out of an unknown context and put it into a familiar context.
Yes.
So now you have the confidence to go forward and do that. And finally, we also discussed the homework assignment of journaling, which you said is going to be a positive experience. You're going to chart your progress, and I really hope that works out.
Yes, me too.
So do you feel this session has been effective?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
I feel like I feel different leaving than coming in.
Right.
I feel a boost of confidence just leaving, Yeah.
And that's really important, that my clients get something out of the experience. So I'm really glad to hear you say that. I have enjoyed working with you. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Okay.